Hi, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of Penmore's Make It Simple short video series. At Penmore, we are very passionate about educating our clients and group members on how to make the most of their finances and save for a comfortable retirement. On today's episode, we're going to focus on cash flow, which represents both the beginning and end of any discussion about financial planning. No matter what financial goal you're saving or planning for, your cash flow is going to determine how quickly and how easily you can get there. Managing one's personal finances can be very challenging. We have so many goals that we want to achieve in our lifetimes, both currently and in the future, and those goals often cost money to accomplish. On a monthly basis, you have money coming in from various sources of income, like your job, and going out for various sources of expenses like food and rent, and maybe even some ongoing expenses like your student loans or your mortgage. Whatever's left after those expenses have been paid is what you have to put towards your goals. Things that get even more challenging for families that have multiple streams of income, multiple sources of debt, and multiple financial goals that they're trying to manage with different timelines and priorities. Some goals are short-term, like going on vacation or buying a new car. Other goals have longer timelines, like saving for your retirement or your children's future educations. Some goals are more affordable, like buying a new pair of shoes, whereas other goals are more expensive, like saving for a university education or for retirement. After all, tuition isn't cheap. So how do you decide what to prioritize and how to spend the extra money that you have left over at the end of each month? Should you be using it to pay down your mortgage and other debts, or should you invest the money? What type of account should you invest the money in? Or should you take your family on vacation instead? There are many possible ways to answer those questions, but the conversation begins and ends with cash flow, and crunching the numbers is going to help you decide what to prioritize. So what is cash flow? Cash flow is a calculation of how much money you're bringing in, how much money you're spending, and what's left over at the end. Cash flow is usually calculated on a monthly basis, but you can use whatever time frame best suits your needs. In this video, we're using monthly cash flow as an example, but it can be done daily, weekly, or even quarterly or annually if you prefer. Whichever one you decide, it's a good idea to keep it consistent so that you can keep track of your progress from one time period to the next. The formula is pretty simple. After you've paid all of your expenses out of the money you've brought in, what's left behind at the end is your cash flow. Once you know how much cash flow you have, you can then create a proper plan for how to make the best use of that extra money. To calculate your cash flow, it often helps to create a budget. Make a detailed list of all sources of income and expenses that come in and go out on a monthly basis. Some expenses are going to be inconsistent month to month, like going out for meals or buying clothing. So for those types of expenses, it's a good idea to overestimate those numbers to leave yourself some extra flexibility. If you underestimate them, you might end up spending more than you had planned, and it could throw off your entire budget. Other expenses might be far less frequent, like maybe once or twice a year. Examples of those types of expenses could be your insurance payments or car repairs. So for those types of expenses, you want to divide them over 12 to get a monthly average, or over 52 to get a weekly average, so that you can extrapolate those expenses over a full year. So now you've sorted out your budget, you know what your monthly income and your expenses are, and you know how much cash flow you have left over. What's next? Well, before you start planning how to use your cash flow, give your budget a closer look. Are there any areas where your cash flow can be improved by increasing your income or lowering any of your expenses? There are a lot of creative ways to find extra money in your budget, but here are a few important factors that you'll want to keep in mind. First is debt. How much are you putting towards paying off your debts on a monthly basis? Are you making the minimum payments, or are you making more than the minimum payments? Are there any ways that you can lower the interest rates on any of the debts that you currently have? Partner considerations. If you're single and you live alone, you don't need to worry about this. But if you have a partner who you share your finances with, then you'll want to account for their income and their expenses in your budget. Cash flow is a household consideration, so you want your budget to be also. Discretionary purchases. Remember, on the last slide, we recommended that you overestimate your discretionary expenses to leave yourself some flexibility. Now is your chance to look a little bit closer at those expenses to determine if any of them can be scaled back. How much monthly cash flow be improved by if you started bringing a lunch to work or didn't buy as many Starbucks coffees? Those may seem like insignificant expenses, but when you're buying those things 5 times a week or 20 times a month, they can add up faster than you realize. And lastly, quality of life. This is a really important factor to keep in mind as you go through this process, and it might even be the most important factor. The overall goal here is to improve your life, and that works differently for everybody. You need to find the right balance between maximizing your spending and minimizing your saving. After all, what's the point of working so hard to earn all that money if you can't do the things that make you happy with it? So if that extra Starbucks coffee each day is going to have a significant impact on your overall happiness, then don't get rid of it. Stick with it and look for other ways to improve your cash flow. Don't stretch yourself too thin to the point of unhappiness. Congratulations! Now that you've gone through every detail of your budget and you've optimized your cash flow, now it's time to start using that money to reach your financial goals. Add more savings to your retirement plan, or maybe to your children's future education plans. Fix that leaky roof on your house. Pay off your high-interest debts. Leave a legacy behind for your loved ones. Use the cash flow to accomplish the financial goals that you need to accomplish. But the work doesn't end there. Your financial goals are going to change and evolve over time as you progress through different stages of life. So if you finish paying off your student debts or other debts, the money that was going to those payments each month now becomes extra cash flow that you can use on something else. If you get married or you have a child, then maybe you have some new goals and expenses to consider. If you get a promotion or a raise at work, then now you have more income to work with in your monthly budget. So there are many life events that can impact your finances, and you'll want to keep track of those and account for them in your monthly budgeting and cash flow considerations as you go along. And don't forget that Penmore is here to help. If you have any questions about this video or suggestions for topics that you'd like to see us cover in future videos, please do not hesitate to reach out to us at the coordinates you see on the slide. Thank you. We hope to see you back again for our next episode of Penmore's Make It Simple short video series.